Hello and welcome to Nikon Report, your weekly roundup of all the latest Nikon news and all other photographic announcements that we found interesting. It's Konstantin here, and here is
Becky.
Whoa.
Howdy.
I think we should do this. Whoa, whoop, whoop all
like,
the time.
It's
Exactly. It's just so. I'm pumped.
You are
every time. We're filming. I'm pumped. So, what is the main news of the week?
Well, there is a Nikon event scheduled for the first week of June. Mystery event. There's a Nikon event scheduled in ISA, as you've put, which should be Asia, for the first week of June. And we're still not sure if this is going to be a new product announcement or an internal Nikon event about upcoming products that will be introduced later.
But since we don't know anything about this, so let's speculate.
I think it's about time that we had some announcements from Nikon. So I believe that it's going to be product announcements.
Oh, that's good. That's a good start. It's a product. And it's going to be announced.
Don't shoot me if it's wrong.
Sometime in the future.
Yeah, there will be stuff announced. I mean, we have quite a lot of things that we've been promised over the next financial year.
Yeah, pinky swear, they said.
Yeah, pinky promised that we're going to announce some stuff. So where is that stuff? That's what I'd like to know. So I'm thinking if they're going to do an event in the first week of June, maybe we'll finally see some announcements. I'm thinking Z lineup.
Sounds good, isn't it? Since F mount is not going to come out anytime soon. But let's have a look. So Z30 obviously has been rumored for quite some time now.
I think you started that rumor, in fact.
Yes, and I'm going to end it. I'm going to talk about this, as well as FTZ Mark II, until they finally come out. And then I'll tell to the internet, I told you so.
Yes.
But I think it's about time for Z30. Summer is coming up, nice weather, maybe local travel.
It would be lovely to have a kind of entry-level Z camera for sure. I don't know if it will be that. I'd be very excited for it to be that.
But let's say if they release Z30, I'm sure they should announce a lens to go with it. Okay, so we're going to have 16-50 lens, which comes with Z50 already. So I think that would be a nice kit lens to go with. But don't you think that Nikon should announce something like 10-20 to tie people over kind of wide-angle side of things? Don't you think?
Yes, however, that's not on the roadmap and hasn't even been hinted at. So the only DX lens that we've had confirmed that it will exist at some point is the 18-140. Is it a 140? Yes. Which I'm assuming is going to be like a sort of slightly higher quality than the 1650 to 50-50. That's a lot of 50s.
Lots of 50s.
Combination, but a nice sort of prime or a wide angle for the DX range would be great.
Yeah, the 18-140 is basically a full frame equivalent of 28-200.
Yeah, exactly.
But I personally think that if we renounce another Z body, it's good to have a nice budget wide-angle lens to go with it. And in full frame, they have, in F mount, they have the 10-20, which is about $250.
It is. I mean, if you buy a Z30 with an FTZ, I don't know that would necessarily be a logical kit option at the outset. But if they did do that, then there's a huge number of DX lenses.
That's the thing. And I think from point of Nikon, while they may address a professional DX market in the future with maybe Z90 or something like this, I think it makes sense if you're releasing a budget option to release a budget lenses to go with it. Yeah. Something inexpensive to start a collection.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if it's not a Z30 or if we decide to get some lenses instead, I know that we're definitely anticipating the telephotos and the macros.
Ooh, macro lenses. Yeah. So what do you think? So there are two lenses that are on the roadmap, isn't it? So
they're on my list.
So there's 50.
Yeah.
And there's 105.
That's right. And the 105 is going to be an S line according to the roadmap.
Okay, and the 50 is just a budget.
Yeah, like the 60 mil is not
I would call 60 an S line lens.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Well, anyway, that's what the roadmap says. It could change because originally that was a macro 60, wasn't it?
So do you think they will announce one or two or both?
My logic would be that they'd announce a macro, a telephoto, and then the Z30. That would be a great day for Nikon.
I would just say, you know what?
One from each of the little holes there.
Let's have a day off the next day.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We've done the announcements.
Make it a national holiday.
Exactly.
Saying that, I don't know, but it would be lovely if we had those. Something like the 100-400 or the 200-600. If we've got a 70-200 already, it'd be nice to have the 200-600, which complements that.
That's true. So we think macro lenses. We think long lenses, since Tokyo Olympics is coming. And I don't think there's going to be any pancakes for now, isn't it?
No, probably not until a little bit later, I would say. That's our speculation. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'd be very interested to hear your thoughts.
Speaking of announcements, Chinese website Xitek published an interview with Nikon executive Toru Matsuhara, head of imaging Nikon of China. It's also been picked up by a Japanese website, Asobi.net, which we discovered last week with the last week's rumors.
Yeah.
And it had several bits and pieces which we found interesting.
Yes.
Let's talk about them.
So first up, they did say that the Z9 will appear by the end of 2021. It will have greatly improved AF performance and goes beyond all previous Nikon DSLR or mirrorless cameras to date.
Wow, that's quite a big shoes to fill, isn't it?
It's a chunky statement. Also, this was the first mention of a new image processor that we've seen. So although we've expected the Z9 to have some new processor in it, it hasn't ever been officially written anywhere. So we're expecting like an X-Speed 8.
X-Speed 8, not Pentium 9?
Or an
R9,
M1?
No. AMD?
No, probably not.
Okay.
He also said, once again, flagship models,
In plural.
plurals, was used. And apparently, they'll all have stacked BSI sensors and 8K video.
Here's the question I have for you, Becky. So when they talk about flagship models in plural, so this means at least two, right? So my question is it Z9 and Z8, yeah? Or is it Z9 and Z90, the DX flagship model?
If they were following the pattern from the previous years, then probably it would be a Z9 and a Z90. So flagship, main FX body, flagship DX camera. However, based on everything that we've seen so far, I think it's going to be a Z9 and a Z8.
Interesting. Okay. And apparently the long lenses will also be released together with Z9.
They've also said that there will be a new lens that maximizes the charm of the Z series.
Oh, I would like to have a lens that maximizes the charm of that lens.
My speculation on that is that it will be the 85 Pro lens, which in this case would be a 1.2 based on my speculation.
In your opinion, what is the current lens that maximizes the charm of that system for you?
The 51.2 for sure.
Yeah.
That is the lens that to me kind of proves how different the Z system can be to the F mount.
Not 24-200.
24-200 is a lovely lens, but if you want one that maximizes the charm, it's a really big statement.
Here's the question, but if you put 24-200 on Z50, would it make all the difference?
Are you just jabbing at me for using the Z50? Again.
No, but the interesting tidbit in that article, what I found is they said first macro lens is coming soon.
Okay, so we can probably ascertain from that the June first week of June announcement, if that's what it is, the meeting that we're having, the event they called it, could be a macro lens.
Okay, so they have two lenses, macro lenses, in their Z roadmap, 50mm and 105, which is S line. So do you think they will announce one, let's say 50 or 105, or will they announce both at the same time?
I think it would be logical to announce the 105 because they don't yet have a 105 focal length. We've now already got two 50s and a 58mm. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So 105 would make most sense to me.
I'm with you.
They also said that there should be 30 available lenses for the lineup by the end of the fiscal year, which is 31st of March 2022.
Okay, so from that, we know that the 12 lenses should be announced this year.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't heard anything from Nikon in the last 8 months, so they have 10 months to release 12 lenses.
So, that's 1.2 something a month.
It's not bad. It's a good attachment per month, I would say.
Yes, I think that it would be great. I mean, I expect that the next announcement will have a couple of bits in it. And then if they've said Z9 and long lenses together, is that going to be Z9 plus 100 to 400, 200 to 600, 400mm and 600mm?
All of them at the same time.
Why not? Just
bring it on. I'm all up for it.
And then they've also said that they want to expand the mirrorless user base, which we kind of know, including early entry models, and that they'll prioritize Nikon mirrorless bodies and lenses.
Okay, well, that means that Z30 is about time, isn't it, to release it, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. On the other interesting tidbits, they also mention software and applications that they're developing them. Now, in last financial report that we discussed only last week, And since we're not going to have any finance news this week, I'm just going to mention this Q4 report. There's lots of interesting things there. But one of the things they mentioned is applications, software development,
Yes.
AI, and machine learning.
Yes. It's true. Very true.
There's a lot of things to add to that, isn't it? But
Sorry. Like, shh. Noisy people.
But what we need to know, and it's very commendable to Nikon to venture in such fields like software development.
Yeah.
The reason for that being is that a lot of hardware companies, they get parts from the same places. So parts off the shelves. And there's a reason why, let's say, people prefer an iPhone over Android device.
It's better.
It's not just better.
Such a
It's
snob.
a software. Still not sponsored by Apple, but
But it could be.
user interface and the software that is designed for this device,
Yes.
could be a camera, could be a phone, could be a laptop, makes all the difference. And a lot of Japanese companies to date are not very good at designing software. So they're really good at hardware manufacturing,
Yes.
but not the software design. So
Let's say they're not known for their software development, whereas if Nikon move into that, that could be a great strength for them, particularly because I think Nikon users get used to one type of interface. And similarly, when you pick up another brand of camera, it's an entirely different experience just because it's been designed by a different group of software team members.
So we're talking a Nikon OS version 2.0.
Something like that.
Sounds good.
It's like Nikon, but more.
That's true. The Nikon, the future.
Nikon the future, the experience. We just tag like loads of words.
Experience.
2.0.
VIP.
0.1.
From other interesting tidbits, they also talked about DSLRs. They said that it's an important segment.
But mirrorless is the priority. So
will we see any DSLR next year?
Well,
This year plus.
this year plus the first 3 months, we were promised a DSLR in that big interview at the beginning of last year.
That's true. So
Where is it?
The D880. Is that what it is?
I was expecting so. A few people said, oh, do you think it's going to be another DX body? I don't think so at this stage. I think that DX bodies now will purely be mirrorless cameras. And that if we do see another DSLR, the most logical one would be the D880. Because if you remember the D850 launch, it was one of our biggest launches of all new cameras.
That's true.
After the D800 and D800E, which was also a colossal announcement. The D850, I found an original purchase of it the other day. It was $3,500.
Yeah.
So it's not too shabby a price point for a camera. If they're only going to produce one DSLR.
That's true.
It
The
makes sense for it
question
to be
is, how does it line up with their strategy into shifting into mirrorless?
That is a good question.
So from one point of view, it's a really good idea to release the D880. From another point of view, you definitely want your user base to upgrade into that series system.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It's very tricky. If they want to push professionals into the mirrorless system, then my logic would be that they wouldn't announce a D880. Conversely, they need to announce a D880 to keep a lot of people happy.
That's true. That's true. So if they release a D3600, I will fly to Tokyo and I will protest outside of Nikon headquarters.
Yeah.
Just me, no one else.
On your own.
But I'll make a point.
I'm sure a few of our viewers would join you,
Absolutely.
for that experience.
It's going to be a nice field trip.
It will be. Now, on the back of that, Nikon have announced that they've suspended orders for the Nikon AFS 180 to 400 f4 ED TCVR lens, which you may not think is a big seller, but at the same time, we've probably sold more of those lenses than we ever would have expected to sell. It is a fantastic product, but they've said many other products are out of stock and obviously have been for a while.
Yeah, so what they did is they issued apology notice where they say,
due to production reasons, it will take some time for some products to be delivered to customers. Therefore, we will suspend the acceptance of orders after May 2021. May 21st, 2021, which was last Friday. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused to our customers. We will consider the delivery time and the resumption time of orders while observing the situation and will inform you again as soon as it is confirmed. We will do our utmost to deliver the product as soon as possible, and we appreciate your understanding.
please understand. Good old Satoru Iwata of Nintendo.
Well, it's his motto in life, which we could probably use in this instance.
And that leads us to a discussion point. Nikon can't supply the goods that are currently being produced. They can't make enough of them.
That's right.
Because of supply issues and semiconductor shortage, etc., etc. Now, we supposed to see 12 Z lenses. My question, will they release the 12 lenses, or will we see maybe 6 or 7 of them this year?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that the logic would be to announce them, even if it's development announcements and it's not actually seeing the product. The thing that we're noticing is that other companies are in exactly the same boat. We've had...
Yeah, it's a widespread industry issue, isn't it?
It is, because the major factor, which was the fire at the semiconductor factory, the beginning of the year, I think it was.
Yes.
Caused a huge ripple effect. So not just for Nikon, but for other brands as well. I believe Sony and Fuji have also made announcements.
Absolutely. The question that I had, because several companies came out around last week, with this type of announcements. Why now? Why not, let's say, around pandemic time, etc.? I mean, we're still in pandemic, but it looks like it's getting better a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's partly because if it was your company, if you were running a company, your logic would be not to kind of scare people into looking at different avenues. You see what I mean? So you'd want to keep your customer base as reassured as possible. You wouldn't want to, let's say, cry wolf, as they say, before something has happened. So you'd say, okay, look, let's just try and keep calm and carry on for as long as humanly possible. And only now are they finally accepting that, yes, there's going to be massive knock-on effects and it is going to take a while for them to recover. And I think it's very poignant that other companies have announced this at the same time.
That's true.
Because if it had just been Nikon, then people might go, oh, well, instead of buying a Z for my next camera purchase, I'm going to move to Sony. Or similarly, Fuji customers might go, oh, I'm now going to move to some other brand because
that's true.
They've announced.
And as a manager, Becky knows, I can tell you that.
I know these things.
But let's go through other companies. So just to kind of say why is it happening, it's not just Nikon. And obviously we are a Nikon-centric podcast, but let's mention some other brands. So Sony quietly updated 2 bodies and they replaced with a new higher resolution screen. So it seems like they're very difficult to find parts for the older screens. Fujifilm also announced that the deliveries of the XS10 mirrorless body and 9 lenses are impacted by delays in parts procurements. Also, it is rumored that they won't announce any X line cameras, that's their DX line of cameras, this year at all. Also, in their medium format segments, the rumored GFX 50S Mark II that's supposed to be announced within the next couple of months now been postponed to fall this year. Now, this camera, while it's supposed to use GFX 100 body itself, it will use the older sensor, 50 megapixel sensor that's been used in their previous bodies, that's been out for at least 5 years. So 50S and 50R. So that means they just can't get enough of those sensors.
No, that does indicate that they're just sort of recycling older parts.
Absolutely, but there is more. Panasonic will likely announce GH5 Mark II instead of GH6. And according to rumored specs, it's pretty much a firmware update. So the internet is not happy about that. And also, obviously, there's uncertainty about Tokyo Olympics this year as well. Tokyo came out of emergency a couple of months ago. And then last month, they got into emergency state again. So the question is, will the Tokyo Olympics happen? And if this happens, how many people will visit it? How many journalists will and photographers will visit it as well? Does it make sense for companies like Nikon with their Z9 and also Canon with their R3 flagship models to use those cameras on the Olympics as well?
I see what you're saying. I mean, usually what these companies do is they give those flagship bodies to the pros. The pros use them and test them in anger, if you like, and then they feed back their experience to the manufacturers, and then little tweaks are often made. Sometimes it's firmware, sometimes it's physical, before we see the final model on the shelf for consumers. So the interesting thing will be, will Nikon then just release the Z9 to the general market if the Olympics doesn't go ahead? Or alternatively, will they give them to, let's say, pro photographers that aren't taking photos at the Olympics? Or will they just release them to the handful of photojournalists that are going to be there, and sports photographers?
I'm a pro photographer, can I have one?
Something like that. They're going to just raise your hand if you'd like to try out a Z9 sort of strategy.
Absolutely. But then if Tokyo Olympics announcement, cancelled, will we have Euros 2021? Who knows? With a lot of, sports events may be cancelled as well. And then does it make sense for cameras like Canon and Nikon to release flagship cameras that's designed for such purpose? I mean, yes, of course, but if you think that you're not going to get any feedback from pro photographers, does it make sense to release a product that could be potentially, half cooked?
Well, I would say on a positive note, with the amount of easing of restrictions that we have over here in the UK, if they want to host the Olympics in the UK again, we're all set up for it.
Welcome to Croydon.
I thought you can do it in Sweden.
The mother of all Olympics.
There's quite a few countries that aren't being restricted, so there could be an alternative. I think that there will be plenty of opportunities and events for this.
That's true. If you look at the last round of English Premier League that's finished yesterday on Sunday, we recorded on Monday, they had some fans on the stadium, which is really, really nice.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to the next season as well.
Nice experience.
But in the meantime, while a lot of products are out of stock, all the camera companies, Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji, Panasonic, all run their spring and summer promotions where they have heavy discounts at their equipment. The show must go on?
The show must go on. That's exactly what they've kind of concluded, I think. And it would be interesting to know from a viewer point of view if you'd prefer to buy a product on discount and then wait potentially a few weeks for it to arrive, or months in some cases, or whether you'd prefer the offers to be scrapped and just be able to buy the products at full price when they're available, rather than sort of parting with your hard-earned cash in advance and then having to wait an indefinite amount of time. Let us know in the comments.
Strange times indeed.
It is.
On some positive news, Nikon won more awards.
Yay! So they won 3 2021 TIPA World Awards, together with pretty much any other camera lens company out there.
Yeah, so TIPA is Technical Image Press Association. I don't know much about them, apart of they're giving awards away and they rating the batteries. And I remember famously they rated Z7 and Z6 for about 330 images per battery charge, which wasn't true in a practical use.
No.
I think we were going over 500-600 photos per charge easily.
It was worst case scenario, but anyway, Nikon have won Best Full Frame Camera Advanced for the Z6 II, Best Full Frame Camera Expert for the Z7 II, Best Wide Angle Zoom Lens for the Z14-24 f2.8S.
Interesting. And if you want to know who else won any awards, you can check the link in the description below. Some news from Japan. Nikon have extended their Z cashback promotion from ending on 25th of June till 31st of July this year.
So they've run it on a little bit longer, and they have lenses such as the 14-24 2.8, 24-70 2.8, 70-200 2.8, and the 51.2, my favorite lens.
Ooh, 20,000 yen off.
Nice.
Wow.
And then they also have 10,000 yen off some of the sort of f1.8 primes and f4 lenses, 7,000 yen off the 51.8S and the converters, and then 5,000 yen off the little 24-50 compact lens.
Yeah, the way it works in Japan, not the same as here where we get instant discounts and the promotions are still running in the UK and Europe. There, you buy the lens and then you have to what they call mail-in rebates, where you send them, you register whatever, you apply online, you send them a letter, and then they send you a check or some sort of, money to the, to your bank account.
Bank transfer. Yeah, we used to do cashback back in the day. That was always a pain. I remember it. Well. Nikon Corporation and Tohoku University have independently developed ITO nanoparticles that are stably dispersed in water and manufacture transparent conductive thin films by the mist deposition method, which is a film formation method with low environmental impact.
Fantastic. Let's stop on this. This is machine translated Japanese into English. Works really well. Look, I hear science, I upvote, especially when Nikon takes part in it.
Yes, exactly.
And when they use fog.
Fog.
And maybe next time you'll see magic as well. Yeah. You never know.
Essentially, it contributes to the production of LCD panels, organic EL panels, and solar panels. So Nikon are researching one of these manufacturing methods, which I won't get into the manufacturing method, but it's very interesting.
You see, when I always say, when we read the news, which neither of us understand, I say that Nikon is a growth company, and they grow in different
ways.
We reported Nikon Q4 financials last week, so if you're interested in that, do definitely check this video out. But this week, they published a Q&A session that normally they have after the presentation.
Oh.
So that generally takes couple of days for them to transcribe. But there were several questions, but the one that we're going to concentrate on is the question about the imaging industry and imaging business side of things.
Okay.
Could you provide us about trends in sales volumes, pricing, and interchangeable lens the tie ratio against camera of the current fiscal year?
Okay, so that makes no sense as a question.
No, and that is published by Nikon in English.
Okay, so I think let me translate for you.
Okay,
so the question is, could you provide us information about trends in digital camera interchangeable lens sales volumes, pricing, and the interchangeable lens ratio against cameras for the current fiscal year? Ratio. I'm like, lenses on one side, cameras on the other side. What's the ratio for the current fiscal year? That's basically what they want to know.
I see. Okay. And what was the answer?
So they said, although we expect to increase sales volumes in the overall DCIL market, we forecast to decrease sale volumes of Nikon.
Okay. Increase in sale volumes of all photographic equipment, so just industry-wise, but decrease of Nikon sales of those goods.
That's right. They've said, instead of chasing share in the overall market, which includes entry-level models where price competition is fierce, we are focused on selling mirrorless cameras for pro hobbyists.
Okay, so talking about entry-level cameras, that's normally high-volume, very low-margin products.
Yes.
What they say is we don't want to play this game anymore because it doesn't sustain itself.
Yes.
So we want to concentrate on high-margin but low-volume products. So something that costs a little bit more, but we don't need to make, let's say, a lot of them to make a profit.
Exactly. So they said the Z6 II and Z7 II models launched at the end of last year are now selling well, and within the year we aim to launch the Z9, our first flagship mirrorless camera. Even declining sales volumes by further shifting to high-end and mid-range models, we aim to grow revenue by increasing average selling price.
Interesting. So for all of you who are looking at sales volume as the main indicator of market share, this is not correct.
This is wrong.
No, and margins as well, because let's talk about this. You can sell 1,000 cameras at $299, let's say D3500, or you could sell 1,000 Z7s at $3,299. So where the revenue is going to be bigger or smaller?
Well, obviously on the Zs.
That's the thing. Even if you sell 500 of Z7s, over 1,000 of D3500, you're still going to make more money. One of the things they mentioned as well, which I'll repeat as we talked about it last week, but they say we want to be profitable at the revenue of 150 billion, which is very small.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here you go. High margins, low volume.
Exactly. They've also said, as for lenses, we plan to expand our current lineup of 18 mirrorless lenses to about 30 by the end of this fiscal year. We will aim to enhance profitability by increasing interchangeable lens tie ratio against camera.
Okay, well, with what we discussed previously, hopefully that will pan out.
Yes, exactly.
In another Nikon news, Nikon Support updated their article on the latest firmware updates for Nikon products. So if you don't want to go to service and support section and just type in the model of your camera, but you want to see the list of all the cameras and all the latest firmware, do check this link below in the description.
Yeah, also Nauticam announced a release of the NA D6 underwater housing for the D6 camera. It's priced at a whopping £4,911, including VAT. You can pre-order it directly from Nauticam and shipping will start on the 1st of June. Incredible.
£4,911.
Yeah, exactly.
At the price of D6 and we got about 10K?
Exactly. So if you do want to shoot underwater with the D6, yes, you are looking at a £10,000 package.
Fantastic. I'll start to save money right now. Company Kipon released a tilt adapter for Nikon F mount lens to Nikon Z mirrorless camera.
Yeah, so they say DP Review Forum user Inasia 1971 wrote a small review of the adapter, said construction of the adapter is excellent, though the tilt and rotation lock feel a little delicate. Tilt is only in one direction with a maximum tilt of 11 degrees, but you have the 360-degree rotation with clicks at 30-degree intervals, much like all of the, perspective control lenses that we have. No electronic contact, so no EXIF lens data. The tilt lock is a friction screw type. Interesting.
And then company Fotodiox also offer Nikon Z tilt and shift adapters. We do put a link for the video describing those adapters in the description below.
That's right.
Nikon in the past has been criticized for not having a native tilt and shift option for Z series cameras. in my opinion, I think it's still a bit early, as there's quite a few lenses that they need to fulfill, and they've been fairly aggressive with the releases of new lenses. I'm sure that will come, but in the meantime, there are adapters like this available. And of course, you can use tilt and shift lenses, Nikon native tilt and shift lenses via FTZ adapter as well.
Exactly. You also get no issue with the overhang of the lens getting, overhang of the camera getting in the way.
The prism, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, with an FTZ. Next up, 7 Artisans announced a 10mm f2.8 fisheye full frame and 55 1.42 APS-C lens for the Nikon Z mount.
They've been on a roll recently.
They really have. They're very aggressively releasing lenses. So 10mm f2.8 fisheye is full frame manual focus. It's made up of 8 groups, 11 elements, minimum focusing distance of 17 centimeters. It is full frame.
The aperture ring that it has is declicked, which is good for video work.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's got 8 pieces, 8 blade diaphragm, 178 degrees of viewing angles, and costs only $270.
Not bad for a full frame wide angle.
That's true.
Pretty good. And then the 55mm f1.42 APS-C DX manual focus lens is made up of 6 elements in 5 groups, has a minimum focusing distance of 42 centimeters, also has a declicked aperture ring, so I'm guessing, again, for video application, weighs just 358 grams and is a mere $130.
Incredible.
Not too shabby.
DP Review published an article using Fotodiox RhinoCam Vertex adapter to shoot medium format images with a full frame camera.
I was just watching that, actually.
Yeah.
So the RhinoCam Vertex allows you to attach a medium format lens to a full frame Nikon Z mirrorless camera, or Z because they are American. Compatible lenses include the Bronica ETR mount, Pentax 6.7. Ooh! I've got some of those.
I got some of this.
Pentax 645 and Hasselblad V mount. I was literally just thinking that. I was thinking, I wonder if I can adapt my Pentax lenses.
You know, no love for my Mamiya RZ equipment.
That's a shame. The RhinoCam Vertex rotates your camera on the lens to allow you to capture 4 different images, which can be used to stitch a 6x6 digital medium format image. The adapter takes advantage of the large image circle of a medium format lens relative to a full frame image sensor. With a medium format lens attached to the RhinoCam Vertex and mounted onto your camera, you then rotate the camera 360 degrees in 90-degree increments to capture 4 images around the center of the lens. Then using digital stitching software such as Photoshop, you stitch the images into a panorama, replicating a medium format look and resolution.
Wow. Okay, so it's going to be high resolution, requires a bit of work. And if you're into that, it's only costs $299, and then you can order it directly from Fotodiox Pro website.
The BBC are set to air a photography show inspired by the Great British Bake Off. So excellent for our fans of the
bacon
GBBO, as they fondly call it on the socials. The BBC's announced their plan to air a Great British Bake Off inspired photography show hosted by Rankin, where 6 amateur photographers will compete for the winner's title. Now, Rankin, you know him.
Well, it's quite famous, currently working photographer that does a lot of fashion. He's famous for co-founding Dazed and Confused fashion magazine, and he's currently producing Hunger magazine as well. So if you're into fashion magazines, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's worked with celebrities like Kate Moss, Heidi Klum, Madonna, David Bowie, Queen Elizabeth, and many more. The 4-part photography challenge-themed television series entitled The Great British Photography Challenge will be hosted by British photographer Rankin as he sets challenges and provides feedback to participants. I am terribly excited about this.
Yeah, how often do you bake bacon?
I actually bake quite frequently. How often I watch GBBO is another matter, but I'm excited for this kind of almost caricature on British life. That's kind of what it is.
That's right. Well, the last thing I baked was beans on toast.
That's why the picture of the Z with
exactly.
Yeah.
That's I took a selfie of it.
You put the camera on top.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very nice.
But what I heard is it's rumored that next episode of Downton Abbey also will have Nikon cameras in it.
Excellent. For our truly big fans of British television. What? Never mind.
Well, that one well.
Oh, yeah, so well. Excellent.
In reviews.
Now for our reviews.
Christopher Frost published his Nikon Z14-30 review with samples on YouTube channel.
He calls it probably the best ultra-wide angle zoom lens for landscape photography.
He doesn't like its price, but think the quality justifies it.
Excellent. So, worth a watch. Do check out the link in the description box or the podcast notes if you're listening on one of our podcast platforms. Taylor Jackson of YouTube also published his long-term review of the Z6 II. He likes the camera and praises the lens lineup and their quality. Now, one thing I will say, I like reviews from people who've used the cameras over periods of time. Those kind of like, I've had it for 3 days, I've sat with it in my home office and I've taken pictures of a brick wall kind of reviews.
The ones that, hi everyone.
Who are you pretending to be?
An influencer.
Anyway, yes.
Hey-o.
God, I'm going to get shot for this. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to get fired.
Yeah. Those reviews which are sort of, I've just tested it in one stationary place, I haven't done any real world experience with something, I find those unfortunately quite unreliable. Because the reviewer in question may have quite a lot to say on what they like and don't like about the camera, but they haven't used it in a practical photography situation.
They didn't live and breathe the equipment for months.
That's right. Like I have with the 500 PF, you know, like I know that lens inside and out now.
I mean, if you search Nauticam review for the D6 house, and there's one that's shot in the bathtub of someone's flat. So, you know, here we go, internet.
That's about as real world as we're going to get at this moment in time.
Absolutely. And that's enough for reviews for this week. Let's just leave the other ones for the next week. We need to spread them out a little bit, but let's move on to weekend read and watch section.
Yeah, so Mr. Supermole of YouTube published a fun video, Nikon P1000 zooming Jupiter in the morning sky 2021. No telescope, it's just a camera.
I didn't know it was possible.
I did actually. There's a few older ones of the P900 before the P1000 existed, and seeing things like the rings of Saturn, Jupiter, just using a Coolpix camera. Obviously, you need a tripod or something stable for that, but it's absolutely fascinating.
See, I only know Moon and Mars.
You don't know the other planets?
Exactly.
Okay.
I know the important ones because we're going to go there one day.
Right, now, moving swiftly on. NFTs and film photography.
Yes, Becky, tell me more.
That's really bizarre. Why would you? Okay, so what can I tell you? I don't know. Okay, so an NFT is a non-fungible token. It's essentially a file, a thing that...
A certificate, which is worth something that you can use as currency. It's worth money.
It's worth real money, but it's not necessarily a real thing. So people have bought memes, like they bought memes.
Yeah, like
as
Doge.
NFTs. Yeah, like the Doge and the anyway, whatever.
The meme like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
People have bought memes and pictures and all kinds of things as NFTs. Which, what's the purpose? Just so that they have money.
Well, you see, in early March 2021, an artist by the name of Beeple sold a one-of-a-kind JPEG at auction for 69 million.
So this digital work was minted and sold as a non-fungible token, an NFT, which uses a blockchain to record the sale and give proof of ownership to the buyer. This was the first digital-only NFT ever sold by the well-known auction house Christie's.
I think they're interesting for our viewers to know that those things are happening now. In the shadows of the internet. The cryptocurrency, the NFTs, it's something that we'll start to see more and more in the future.
Yeah.
So we need to understand those, isn't it?
We do. I don't entirely understand why you would pair up, why you would sell a film photo as an NFT, because...
No one knows, but I chose this article because it's edgy.
So the astronomical auction price of Beeple's piece quickly kicked off a rush among artists looking to sell their own work in a similar digital-only fashion. And to date, 9 NFTs have sold for over $1 million. But what about the rest of us? Should you sell your photos as NFTs too? How easy is it?
Well, if you read the 2 articles linked below, you will find out. The reason I put this article, we will start to see more of those things before. So it's good to be prepared.
Yes.
NFTs, BTCs, USDs, GBPs, all those abbreviations.
GMTs and BSDs.
GMTs, exactly. GMEs.
all of these things.
Absolutely. So it's good to be aware of those things.
Good luck editing this segment.
I'll just leave it as it is.
Thank you very much for watching and or listening. Please feel free to give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube, or a follow and a review if you're listening on a podcast platform.
it opens us to a bigger audience.
It does indeed. And people can find us and hear all about Nikon's financials.
But if I want to find you personally, Becky, where can I find you?
You can't find me, not personally. If you'd like to follow my work on Instagram, I'm at Rebecca_Danesi. And you are?
I'm on Instagram as well, and it's at Konstantin Kochkin.
Excellent. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again for another video very soon.
Bye.